Welcome to the International Marketing Plan. The company we will be evaluating today is Lidl. The 4 guidelines for collecting and analyzing the market data: cultural analysis, economic analysis, market audit and competitive analysis, and last but not least, preliminary marketing plan. First, a brief overview of Japan. Japan has multiple historical periods that help shape the country into what it is today. The first period we'll talk about is the emergence of Japan. The first humans to inhabit Japan walked over from the mainland around 35,000 BCE. The Jomon period is the next era we'll talk about. It was influenced by hunters and gatherers. The more sophisticated people called the Yayoi sailed over to take control of the region. Then the samurai rule and the Civil War era had a huge influence on Japan. There was a big power tug of war between different regions, resulting in the Civil War. The last historical period we'll talk about is the post-war and modern Japan. It was slowly becoming a powerful country based on its growth in technology. Japan Inc. was massively successful in assimilating foreign technology, improving it, selling the products ranging from Walkmans to cars to the outside world at margins made healthier by Japan's framed efficiency in the manufacturing process. Japan has continued its growth and become a successful country, fighting through all the struggle they have proven to overcome challenges time after time. Next is the 4 objectives of cultural analysis: geological settings, social institutions, religion and aesthetics, and last but not least, language. Japan is divided into 8 regions and is located on the eastern side of the Korean Peninsula. The population of Japan is 127 million people. The capital is Tokyo and the currency is yen. Japan's main islands are approximately 120 miles away from land. It is a very small country when compared with the vast Asian islands and with the United States. Mountains and forests make up more than 50% of the country, and looking back at the population, most of Japan's non-Japanese populations come from the Korean origin. There is many volcanoes and natural hot springs in Japan. The most famous volcano and highest mountain is Mount Fuji. Japan is mostly composed of mountains, plains, and rivers. The mountains cover 75% of the land, and there is about 264 volcanoes, but only 20 are active. Japan has the clearest lake in the world, Lake Kushiro, having a transparency of 135 feet. In the springtime, between the months of March and May, it's mostly warm, and it doesn't rain that often. Springtime in Japan is like springtime everywhere else. Flowers will bloom and you can experience nothing but great weather. In the summertime, it rains 2 to 5 weeks. It is a great time for farmers because they can actually plant their rice. Lastly, autumn in Japan from September to November is just cold temperatures. The high is 50 degrees. Families in Japan are no different from the ones in America. The education system is somewhat different. In Japan, it is required by law for everyone to do 6 years of elementary school, 3 years of middle school, and 3 years of high school. Over 90% of students graduate from high school and 40% graduate from college. The political system in Japan has a House of Councilors which hold 242 members and a House of Representatives that hold 480 members. The 2 most powerful parties are liberals and Democrats. Japan has a 5-court system: the summary court, civil and criminal court, family court, and the highest of them all is Supreme Court. Most people in Japan follow 2 religions, Shintoism and Buddhism, or they can choose to follow both. Shinto does not have a founder, nor does it have a scripture. It is deeply rooted with the Japanese culture. Shinto God is known as Kami, which can take form of anything. Buddhism is a path of practice, spiritual development, leading to the insight into the true nature of reality. It has been around for thousands of years, teaching people to be in control of their own life and understand that certain actions have consequences. Japanese is the most prominent language spoken throughout Japan. There are multiple dialects spoken in Japanese, and there are 2 common dialects spoken throughout the Japanese culture. There are also 4 written scriptures of the language. There are 5 objectives of the economic analysis. Population. economic statistics and activity, development in science and technology, channel of distribution, and media. Japan is a country that's going through a lot, experiencing a decrease in their population. The health ministry recently announced that there were less than 1 million babies being born in 2017, which is the fewest births since the official statistic began in 1899. The news for Japan continues to get worse as there were over 1.3 million deaths last year, and the death rate continues to increase while the birth rate slowly declines. The Japanese government is trying to get companies to branch out and invest at home and figure out ways to increase wages to enhance the demand and help the country improve for the better. The average household income for a Japanese citizen is less than $30,000 a year. In Japan, there is a huge gap between the rich upperclassmen and the poor. In terms of employment, 75% of people aged 15 to 64 in Japan have paid jobs. Some 83% of men are in working positions compared to the 67% of women. Japan has numerous ways to get around town. The railway system is basically the best way to get around town in Japan, connecting to Tokyo's multiple city centers, and the city's 13 subways are operated by 2 companies. Japan is looking for new ways to be innovative and outshine every other country. They have new technology like the AirPrint for the cell phone to replace the traditional fingerprint. Japan would rather do business domestically. Their distribution system is extremely different from every other country like the United States and Europe. The Japanese distribution channel will normally go through 3 to 4 different channels before reaching the customer. The Japanese culture prefers to do business face-to-face because they can connect with the customer and create a strong sense of loyalty with one another. The cost of advertisement in Japan was around 289 billion Japanese yen. That's about $2.6 billion in U.S. currency. That includes all forms of media, whether it be magazines, newspapers, television, social media, and radio. The mass media in today's day and age expands and it became the second strongest market in the world, and the U.S. was first. The 2 objectives were market audit and competitive analysis, product, and lastly, market. Lidl is a grocery store that has numerous products they sell at a low price, and they offer anything from fruits, vegetables, meats, personal products for men and women, and also supplies for dogs and cats like foods and treats. A one-stop shop has been popular in Japan since 1953. Japanese citizens love the Western-style shopping, and even though Lidl is based out of Germany, they currently use this style. The company raves about their high-quality, low-cost slogan and partnering with local farms and suppliers to help stock their shelves. They can work with farms in Japan to help support locals and provide food they are familiar with. Supermarkets in Japan sometimes charge their citizens a few yen to use the company bags, but at Lidl, customers are allowed to bring their own bags and they do not charge their customers for their bags. About 23% of the household spending in Japan is on food. It's a country where taste and preference is highly influenced by cultural, societal, and environmental drivers. 52.56 million people in Japan are active monthly social network users, with the most popular ones being Facebook at 39%, Twitter at 29%, Pinterest at 13%, YouTube at 10%, Tumblr at 2%, and Instagram at 2% as well. Discounts start off at a modest 10 to 20%, but progressively increase until closing and may end up at a high 50 to 70%. A number of companies tried to enter Japanese tough retail market and plenty have failed. Aeon is one of Japanese biggest sellers of food in the market, and their success along with Walmart and Costco's has made competition very intense. Lastly, the 4 objectives of the preliminary marketing plan. The marketing plan, the method of payment, the financial statement and budget, and lastly, the resource requirements. Tokyo is Japan's capital and the world's most popular metropolis. It is also one of Japan's 47 prefectures, consisting of 23 central cities and also multiple cities, towns, and villages west of the city center. Strengths of the companies present a competitive advantage, while weakness can be improved upon to make more opportunities. identifying threats can make the market a little less intimidating to enter. One of Lidl's strengths is their private label branding. It gives them a competitive advantage over companies, and when it comes to prices, they force suppliers and competitors to lower their prices, putting them at a greater position when it comes to receiving products. The biggest weakness is their ethical issues. The company has been undercutting other companies and suppliers by using unethical price strategies. Also, Japan is a place that harps on face-to-face interactions, so helping people bag their groceries can go a long way when they do not expect that to happen on a daily basis. Also, Lidl needs to be in compliance with certain laws when moving into a different country, and so they can avoid those unethical issues when it comes to their customers. Expanding to Japan isn't a small task. There are multiple barriers that stand in the way and will impact the company tremendously. Placing advertisements on transits will be pushed heavily for Lidl. Millions of people ride the transit, whether it be the bus, the railway, or the subway. The internet and newsletter are the most popular forms of advertisement in Japan. The company just needs to be aware that customers must agree in advance before sending any form of information to their email. Forming a strong connection with local farms in the area will be very important. They will give Lidl the extra competitive edge they need over other companies. Lidl accepts cash, credit cards, and debit cards, no checks. Lidl does not offer any online shopping or delivery. This process needs to be evaluated if the company wants to reach all customers and not limit themselves, because some companies offer online shopping and delivery like Walmart and Ion. There will be an emphasis placed on advertisement, promotion, as well as building expense, because the company needs to hit the ground running.